Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. How are you this morning? Welcome to Complex PTSD TV. And my name's Linda. I'm your certified trauma recovery coach, and I'm here to help you empower your next step. And that means with complex PTSD, that means we need education, we need strategies, and we need structure. Because there was so much we didn't learn in our childhood, and also because our brain was impacted, our neurology, our whole system, our wiring was impacted by what happened to us in childhood. Now, if you're here for the first time, welcome. It's wonderful to have you with us. If you're here for class, say g'day. And if you're here for the replay, let me know. Remember to like and share, because we're living in a time where the silent majority still aren't aware that we have information available to help them break the cycle and have a whole functioning life. So that helps. If you are on YouTube, hit subscribe, and thank you for all the comments. It's been wonderful getting to engage with you all as well. Now, this morning, our topic is going to be recognising financial abuse, but we want to do it in a number of parts. So I want to give you some ideas of what financial abuse looks like, but I also want to give you information that's going to be necessary for you to help break the cycle, and also what's happening at the neurological level as to why we haven't been able to see what we needed to see. And that's a lot of our challenge at times, is that we don't know what we don't know, and we don't actually know that we don't know. So take it easy, be very gentle with yourself. So in recognizing financial abuse, you may be in a situation now where it's like, why is this happening? How is this happening? Why can't I get my significant other to listen? And there can be a lot of dynamics that happen around that, and that's not today's chat show. But what I want to do first is affirm for you that these particular things are definitely financial abuse in a relationship. Okay, so someone who tries to control your use or access to money you have earned or saved. And I went through this in my first marriage, and I didn't realise that it was financial abuse. So I had no access to my own money, and I had no say in how that money was getting spent, and I had no access to a budget or anything, which was incredibly frustrating. And it didn't matter how I tried to word that, hey, I'm working here too, and, we need to sit down and do this together. When you've got somebody who won't talk to you about it, it's really hard to negotiate what's going to happen. So be aware that it takes two. It's not just us it's happening for. Using our assets, using our assets for their own personal benefit without asking, taking money or using credit cards without permission. And I know a number of people that have ended up in a lot of strife because of that particular part of financial abuse. Ruining your credit history by running up limits and then not paying the bills. And often you don't find out until later on that they've done this. And they actually call that sexually transmitted debt. Claiming to make payments or pay your bills in your name but not following through. Borrowing money or making charges without repaying it, feeling entitled to your money or assets. Demanding that you turn over your paycheck passwords and credit cards. Expecting you to pay for their bills or their obligations. And there's a few others, and I will add them in an infographic down below. What's important for us is to understand that there are a number of criteria that we need in order so that we can begin addressing this. First of all, we need to be willing to take responsibility for our financial future, okay? So when we do that, we begin to sit down and work out a budget, and we then have to build into us the courage to say, no, you can't have access to that because you've shown that you're being irresponsible, and you're an adult, but you're being irresponsible, so I'm going to take charge of my money. Look, I wish I'd known this decades ago too, but here we are, and let's do it from now on. We need to find our voice. Often with complex PTSD, part of our challenge is that we haven't found our voice. We feel like we're standing on shaky ground when it comes to financial matters, all right? So do your homework. Actually, I'll just show you a book. Highly recommended all around the world. You want to grab the Barefoot Investor, okay? And it says the only money guide you'll ever need. And you really want to get hold of that. And people are getting debt-free. So if you've got a partner that's financially abusive and they're not willing to work on getting debt-free, then you need to take responsibility and do that yourself. Okay, so what I did personally was take responsibility for my money, go and learn what it is I don't know. So oftentimes our first question is, what is it that I don't know, so that I can go and find out what it is I need to know. And that can be challenging because sometimes we hold ourselves so tight that it's like, I can't breathe. If I ask this question, am I safe? I want to assure you that asking questions is safe for you because you're an adult. And if anyone starts to laugh, then that's their issue, because it's really important that we ask the questions. When it comes to financial abuse, it's important that not just responsibility for what we've just talked about where you're going, but responsibility for today. How do I put a budget in place, and how do I learn to go without, and for it not to feel like it's a sacrifice, because I have to be able to see that I'm building into my future. All right. That can be a hard concept when we're coming out of complex PTSD because it requires order. When our prefrontal cortex is offline, order is really, really hard for us. So we want to work towards order and work towards, if we're dissociating, recognize it, recognize where the fear comes from, and then recognize that as we put steps into place, we are actually teaching our brain, our whole system that runs the show, we're becoming conscious of it, but we're also teaching and having new experiences, so the brain creates new neural pathways, so we don't have to be afraid of money. So we want to work ourselves into a place and position where money does what we tell it to do. We're not in a situation where we have to do what money says, like, paying off excess bills every month because of what somebody else runs up or we didn't know. So you want to be intelligent with your money. You don't want to give people out your passwords. You don't want to, you want to build trust. So if you've lost trust with someone, your significant other, then you want to be consciously building trust between you, and you want to be on the same page when it comes to your budget, the bills you're paying off, and where to from here. Now, one couple I know sat down for 5 hours on a Sunday until they could nut their budget out and what their needs were for the next year and where to go from here, okay? Another couple I know, she's had to take charge of the finances because of his behaviour, and that's how she had to learn to stand up and use her voice, okay? Another couple I know, one of them had to take all the credit cards, FPOS cards, everything off their significant other because the significant other had gambling issues and other issues, and they wanted to begin to be proactive in how they address their finances together. So there's lots and lots of examples. I've been in two situations where one, I had no say, and in the other situation where I was expected to do everything. But what we want to do is work together, all right? Now, if you're single and you're thinking of going into a relationship, what you need to do is find out be willing to sit with somebody and be completely upfront about where you're at financially. I mean, in every area, but financially in particular, because finances are the number one thing that tear a relationship apart. Okay, so I'm going to leave the list with you, and I'll put it down below. I'll put it in a blog post and a few other places. And I want you to sit down today and say, this is the one area that I want to begin to address. Okay? So if somebody's ruining your credit history and running up limits and they're not paying bills, let's just say that's your one thing. So you want to put that at the top of a page, and you want to sit down and begin to nut out. Like, if you have to write down 20 different things that come into rebuilding each part of that, so your bills get paid, you fix your credit history, and if you don't know how to do that, then you're going to say, research how to fix my credit history. Okay? Now, credit history is a big thing in America. It's different in Australia. It's a different concept. So we have to go about it a different way. So there's no use me going into all the ins and outs. But you want to know, and you can get in touch with professionals who can help you nut that out. Be willing to get in somebody who's intelligent as a financial advisor to help you break free. All right? To help you break the cycle. It's not easy, but it's worth it. And it's worth you keeping your relationship together. Now, for all the people who are single, you want to do this in advance. You want to know where you are at financially and that you're paying off your bills, if you have them, and you want to know where you're going in the future. Because when somebody else comes along, if they don't have the same mindset, the same goals, the same attitude towards money more than anything, it's not about how much you do or don't have. Do we have the same attitude towards money? Are we on the same page? All right, because if it's the most significant thing that splits relationships up, then we want to focus on, am I with somebody who, for me, likes to save? All right, that's one of my key criteria, is that I'll save over spending. What do they think and believe about a credit card or credit cards? What do they think and believe about buying a house or not? And another one of my friends has a tiny home, and that's the lifestyle she wants. Do they agree with the kind of lifestyle I want according to the income that we have? Right? You want to build this really conscious awareness, because without it, you end up going down the same roads and ending up with, well, for me, I should speak for me, we can end up going down the same roads and being with people who like to spend when we like to save, okay? When we have financial goals and they don't think more than, I don't know, what an example, going down the pub and you know, blowing the week's wages on a night out. That's just an example. But there are many things, okay? And you want to look at, actually, I better stop there because I'm going to give you a whole lot of things to think about. But first of all, today, we just want to recognize the financial abuse. We want to take one step. We want to write it down at the top of the page, the one that's affecting us, and we want to put into place, list all the steps that we may or may not need to take, and then we want to put them in an order and begin to take them. Because then we build courage, we build confidence, we begin to build our voice into our life, okay? And that is something that we really, really need to do with complex PTSD. Remember, above and beyond everything else, you are loved, you are needed here, you belong. And I will be back tomorrow morning with more Complex PTSD TV Live. Thanks for tuning in, ladies. Bye.